Hey, folks, welcome to Hope Rescue Podcast. We're Tim and Kimberly Scott, and we are talking about the most beloved passage in Scripture, the Ten Commandments. Don't do this, don't do that. Sounds like my childhood. Timmy, don't do this, don't do that, don't touch this. You know, I've always had this negative feeling about the Ten Commandments, as though there's just this heavy restriction on my life and oh man, can't do anything. Although none of those things I'd really want to do anyway.
Right. It reminds me of watching our adult children with their small kids and how they have a different approach. Instead of saying, no, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't, they redirect them to what they can. Yeah. And so it's about our focus, not on focusing on things being taken away, but what's given to us because we choose something different.
This is our final podcast on the Ten Commandments. And so I wanted to put this in context and kind of do a quick review and then get to the last commandment we're going to talk about. But remember this, the children of Israel are out of Egypt. They are preparing to go into the promised land. God wants them to have their best life. He wants them to know exactly how they should live to have that best life, how they should worship, and so forth. While the Ten Commandments are being given to Moses, they are impatient and they build a golden calf and worship it. When Moses comes down, he's furious and he throws the tablets down. Of course, that was not the way he should have done it.
Right.
But those Ten Commandments forbade some of the things that they were doing there, having other than God in their life as a form of worship. And so as we go through these are about understanding what is going to be their best life as they go into the promised land. So I want you to understand this, and I want us to understand this as the way to live our best life. Is the Ten Commandments are for our value, whether it's the Sabbath and rest, whether it's worship and focus on God, whether it's not stealing and focusing on other people's property as theirs alone. And all of these have a value to our life. But here's how we approached it. We broke the Ten Commandments into 5 sections. The first section was how God is brought into our life. So each one of these sections has a purpose. And the first one is God in our life. The second one is the Creator in our life, talking about the Sabbath day, that to really recognize God as Creator. The third section is how to have proper family in your life, honor your mother and father. And then what we went over last time was how to have respect in your life, respect for life, respect for property, respect for marriage, respect, these different areas, the truth. And so each one of those brings respect into our life. And today we're finishing this series on talking about how gratitude in our life is going to bring about our best life. And he does that by telling us what to not do, but then when we look at the positive, it's about gratitude.
Right, which is covet. We're talking about coveting, which is a word you don't hear very often anymore, but it's basically wanting something that somebody else has.
Yeah.
And so the foundation of that is a lack of gratitude in your own life. Exodus 20:17 says, "You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male servant, or his female servant, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything that's your neighbor's." You just don't want his stuff. You got to stop wanting his stuff.
You got a lot of good stuff.
You want your stuff and not his stuff.
Yeah, you look at your neighbor's wife and you go, his wife is better than my wife.
It's not your stuff.
This isn't even a sexual thing. This is more of it's just coveting.
Yes.
And whether it's the male servant or whether it's the female servant or the ox or any of these, listen, anything that he has, all of his stuff is his stuff. Now, keep this in mind. Societies debate this all the time. What about class structure? I have never looked at a billionaire, and there weren't any when I was a kid, at least that I knew about. There are several now, but there were many millionaires. I never looked at a millionaire as a young man. Never look at a billionaire today and go, wow, I wish I could have that? Why don't I get that? Sometimes I've thought, boy, it'd be nice to have more of what they have. However, that's not God's calling in my life. God has called me to the life that I have.
And gratitude in what he's provided.
Yeah. And if you don't hear this podcast at all, just hear this. If you want an antidote for coveting, it is simply being grateful for what you have and saying, what I have is enough.
Right.
So there's a thing in psychology and sociology, and maybe you've learned this in the past, maybe it's not familiar to you, but it's called the hedonic treadmill. And the hedonic treadmill works simply like this, a little more involved than this, but for the sake of our podcast, let's just make it clear. No matter how hard one tries to be happier, one will remain in the same place. That's a treadmill. I don't know if you ever knew that, but I walk my dogs every day. And when I walk the dogs, I'm really actually going somewhere. But I also go get on the treadmill for exercise, and I'm going nowhere. So that's kind of this hedonic treadmill, is the idea that you remain in the same place no matter how much you want something else, irrespective of what you gain or lose in terms of your resources. You really are remaining in the same place hedonically. That is, your happiness, your joy, the pleasure of life doesn't really change. You're on a treadmill, and that's what it's about.
I wonder, does the word hedonistic come from hedonic? Probably, huh?
Well, yeah, hedonic comes from hedonistic.
Hedonistic, okay,
It just has to do with pleasure.
Right.
Hedonism is the idea that life is best with pleasure.
Yeah.
And
so,
that's a philosophy of life. So see, hedonic is what hedonic treadmill is, hedonistic or pleasure-oriented life.
So you're always thinking that you'll finally capture real pleasure by having more when those two come together.
If I get more, I'll have pleasure.
I'll have more pleasure.
If I have better whatever, I will be fulfilled.
Right. So the key to getting off of that crazy treadmill, obviously, is that we have to have a change of values.
Yeah.
That change of values comes from leaning more into gratitude for what you have. And I was just thinking, as you were describing in that passage, how everything about our culture, again, we are really not far off from where it all started, that we are constantly fueled with wanting our neighbor's stuff, in the sense of the things we watch on TV. Social media has been the greatest tool to drive young children into this lack of gratitude, because you're constantly seeing reels of a false presentation of what other people have, whether they have it or not. They're letting you think that their world is full of all the treasures and all the things. So you're living every day of your life looking at what you have, what God has provided for you, which is for most of us, our needs are met, and comparing it to the highlight reel of this hedonistic reel of life and social media. And it has created such a discontent in people's homes, marriages, parenting, life, all of that stuff. Career.
You look at somebody that's, many of us have had a boss that is inferior to us intellectually or, leadership wise or management skills, whatever. And my employees would always say that. But anyway, you look at somebody and you go, I could do their job better than them.
Right.
I deserve that job. That's coveting.
Yeah.
And ambition is not coveting. The best way to deal with ambition, and there's nothing wrong with having goals and purpose and growth and so forth, but to celebrate each step is really powerful. It keeps you grounded. But changing your values is if you want to avoid coveting, you change your values, living your life on not a temporal plane, but on an eternal plane. So you're not seeing life as, I got to get it in this life. I've got to have a better family. I've got to have a better house. I've got to have a better. Hey, you're going to spend all of eternity. If you're a believer in Jesus Christ, you're going to spend all your eternity with God. And the house that you have is going to be better than you can imagine. The life that you have is going to be better than you could ever imagine. Why covet today what in eternity you're going to have by God's grace, a free gift to you? So the second way that we get off that hedonistic treadmill, hedonic treadmill, is to reinterpret the meaning of life. The meaning of life is not more. The meaning of life is gratitude. The third thing is we develop a strong connection to the way, what I like to refer to as the way. The way is simply understanding. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. When you live in the way, you have a clear understanding that the afterlife is secured through faith in Jesus Christ, and therefore this life is simply a journey that involves suffering, it involves success and failure, it involves pain. We live in a fallen world, but ultimately I have a destiny in heaven. The way says eternity is everything. So your values, reinterpreting life, developing a strong connection to the way, all of the same thing, seeing God as everything in your life. So there's this way to look at life, need assessment. Day-to-day happiness rises with increased income, is what everybody thinks. But the plateau of level of needs fulfillment, let me explain what I mean. So when your income rises to the level of your needs and all of your needs are being met, it does increase the joy of life. When you don't have enough money to meet your needs, not your wants, but your real needs. By the way, all you need is bread, you need shelter, you need clothing. Pretty much beyond that, you don't need much. You don't need a car. There's other ways to get where you need to go. You don't need a high-paying job. You don't need power. You don't need the best clothes. You just need some clothes. You don't need the best food. You just need some bread. So I'm talking about when your needs are met, and what psychologists have learned or sociologists have learned, when that financial growth goes beyond that, there's diminishing return in joy. So after your level of income goes to meet your needs, beyond that, it doesn't improve more happiness. Let me explain how that works. It's called wealth delusion. The wealth delusion works like this. If you're rich and you're miserable, more money won't help.
Right.
Let's say you're a billionaire. And, it's interesting. I just read that. I don't even know if it's true. But who was it that just got married? The guy that got married, a $20 million. We know he is. Amazon guy. Yeah. But anyway, $20 million for his wedding.
Bezos.
Yeah. And I've already heard that there's talk of divorce.
Oh, wow.
That's probably not true. Maybe it is. I don't know. But his billions of dollars is not going to make him happy.
No. In fact, just the reverse, we hear people talking about the more money they accomplished and made, the more misery and responsibility they actually had.
And it doesn't matter whether you're a billionaire or if you're, just making it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. What matters is what you value, what you have.
Right. That's the key.
That's the key. But anyway, it says, if you are rich and miserable, more money won't help. For everyone else, that's the rest of us who are not rich, more money is perceived as a means to increase happiness. That's the wealth delusion. The wealth delusion is, if I have it, I'll be happy. But the people that have it, like Jim Carrey said one time, I wish that I could wave a wand and make everybody famous and wealthy, and they would realize that won't make them happy.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. That's what's called the wealth delusion. So need assessment is based on delusional thinking. What you need is what you have.
What you're
God
talking
provides.
about with Jim Carrey is like an abundance denial, because there's like an inability to appreciate the resources available in one's life once you've reached a certain amount, and it leads to a life without the joy and possibly even anxiety, like I was talking about, because you're saturated with everything you thought would bring you happiness, satisfaction, and joy. It leaves you feeling empty and gross, like when you overeat at a delicious meal.
Yeah.
Like you can't even enjoy those last bites because you're so full, it becomes grotesque almost at some point. The same goes for wealth. It's promised in our heads and our hearts and through society that somehow is going to be the cup that fills this empty spot in our heart and our life and our mind, is to get more, and then you hit that point of saturation and you can't even absorb the abundance, and it actually can make you sick,
Yeah. So we'll give you an illustration from our life. Little over 6 years ago, about 6 years ago, we walked into the house we're in right now. And when we walked into this house, and we'd been looking for a house. In fact, were we in escrow? We made an offer on a house.
Yeah, and it was stuck.
And it was stuck. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't going. And we thought it was just the perfect, we wanted it so badly. But we looked for another house. And when we looked for this other house, we found this, walked into this house that we're in. And Kimberly walks in the front door. We look at the living room. She walks over. I'm pointing over to it. There's a counter right here in the kitchen. And she put her hands, in fact, she draped herself over that counter and she said, "This is it." And we found the house. We hadn't even seen upstairs yet. We haven't seen the master bedroom. We hadn't seen any of the other bedrooms. We didn't even see the yard. Yeah. And this is it. And we went through, and everything was acceptable, but it was so perfect for us. And we love this house.
Every day.
We thank God for it all the time. And we love the neighborhood we live in. We're thankful for it. We went on a walk after we got this house, and we started down this pathway, this beautiful pathway, and 2 streets down. What did we find?
Well, I'm going to quote you.
Yeah.
You came back from a walk.
Oh, that's what it was.
It was you walking the dogs, and you said, "Man, there's this street 2 streets down. It's covered in trees, and the homes are so beautiful. The landscaping is perfect. It's like on another level. It's like if we were on that street, we could really have our best life." And I just laughed. I was like, "Oh, we're good." And from then on, we started calling it Best Life Street because it was so ironic, because we had come into our best life with hearts so full of gratitude for this home. We'd come through a very difficult season in our life with our health, both of us. And all kinds of challenges. And this home represented God's new promises, new blessings. It was enough. It wasn't too much. It was perfect for us because of our huge family being able to host our kids, but it wasn't over the top, and it was manageable. It was our best life home. Yeah. But then, it's just human nature to get settled in, and then not too much longer, but the landscaping 2 streets over.
Yeah.
And so it became a joke about how easily we can become focused on something more and better.
It's like this. It's like a little kid who's got all kinds of cookies in his hands. Yeah. And his hands are full with cookies. I've watched our grandkids do this. I'm thinking of I think maybe last week. And there's all, everything. You got everything you need.
Yeah.
And yet you want what that person has. That's the abundance denial. I have an abundance, but I'm denying it. You have been given everything you need.
Right.
And you have everything in Christ that you need. You don't need more blessing.
Right.
You don't need more material possessions. You don't need a better family. Be thankful for what you have. Gratitude is power.
And what's dangerous is that can segue very quickly into what we call covetousness. And many of you have heard that word. And Paul teaches about that in the law and calls it straight up sin. Romans 7:7 says this, "Yet if it had not been for the law, I would not have known sin, for I would not have known what it is to covet, if the law had not said, you shall not covet. But sin, seizing an opportunity through the commandment, produced in me all kinds of covetousness. They go together, sin and covetousness. So that's longing for and wanting something that belongs to someone else or someone that has something bigger or better than you. That is actually sinful because we are not in that place of gratitude.
Covetousness is so intuitive to the human nature that Paul said, I wouldn't even known it's wrong. Like, it's natural to
Good
go,
point.
I want that. Like, what's wrong with me saying that? Well, the Bible says it's thou shalt not covet. That's the command. And so Paul said, I wouldn't even known because it's so intuitive. It makes so much sense. And he says in Romans chapter 7, later on in this passage in verse 21, he said that the law is working in me to control my behavior, but my flesh longs for what I don't have. And I'm caught in between wanting to do what God says, and at the same time, my flesh saying, I want this, I want more.
Right.
So how do we overcome covetousness?
Well, we're going to end where we started, and that is in gratitude. It's always going to land in gratitude, and which is an intentional muscle that you flex. And the more you flex it, the stronger it becomes. Philippians 4:11 says, not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And that's our source right there, is the strength we find in the Lord to be able to land in gratitude, is that we know that he will always be there with us through it. He is the one that strengthens us. And I think quickly, because I know we're wrapping it up, if there's one person I think of in my life that I think of the word gratitude, it's my mother, who has been in places of need and has moved more times than literally I can even count, into different homes and countries with my dad in their missions work. And she's gone through his health struggles, highs and lows, loss of a husband, moving countries many times. And she lands every day in such a beautiful place of gratitude, to the point that it almost has felt like, is this even real? But it's a muscle she has flexed for years.
Yeah, and she talks about the joy in her life. She would not have that joy if she didn't have gratitude.
Right.
And here's the beauty of this. Think about this. He said, I have learned the secret of contentment. See, people go, well, okay, I'm gonna be content, and then you go, I want some more stuff. Yeah. And you go, okay, I'm gonna be content. That's not the secret. The secret is, we're in verse 13, an unfortunate translation, it says, I can do all things. It sounds like achievement, but it's not. It's contentment. He's talking about the fact, he says, literal phrasing of verse 13, instead of saying I can do all things, I endure all things, or I am strong in all things, whether I have a lot or whether I have a little. He said, I've learned to live with much. I've learned to live with little, just as Kimberly read just a moment ago. So that achievement is not what he's talking about in verse 13. It's not I can do all things, but I am strong in all things.
That's good.
And so that ability to have much and go, okay, I'm good. Or have very little and go, okay, I'm good. Wherever circumstance I'm in, I'm satisfied.
That's so good.
That gratitude is power. That's why my mother-in-law, Kimberly's mother, has such joy in her life. If we could learn that, we could have that kind of joy.
Yeah.
Some of us it will be a lifetime trying to learn that. The final thing, so not only can we overcome covetousness through gratitude, but finally through sharing. Something happens when we share with other people. Something happens to us spiritually, psychologically, where the attention goes off of ourself and onto others, and it goes off of what we do or don't have onto what we can share. So the psychological benefit, the spiritual benefit are intertwined into connecting with another human being, of saying, I'm going to resource your need because I have extra. Or I can do with even less. I don't even have extra, but you know what? I have my needs met, and you know what? I'm going to cut back on my needs a little bit so I can share with this person. People that have much should give much. People who have little should give little. But we should give out of how God has provided for us. That sharing is psychologically powerful. So coveting is a trap. You'll never have enough. And you will get into that hedonistic or hedonic treadmill. You'll get into that improper need assessment, or as we talked about, abundance denial. You have so much. Don't deny what you have because somebody has more. It doesn't matter what somebody else has. We don't need everybody to have the same. Just be thankful for what God has given you, and you will have joy, and you will stop coveting what other people have. So that is the 10 Commandments.
Good stuff.
It's really powerful stuff. We will come up with a new series coming, and we tell you what it is, but we don't know yet.
We're throwing some ideas around.
We're throwing some stuff
if you have
against the
some
wall.
ideas, reach
see
out
if it
to
sticks.
us. Yeah. If you got any good ideas, we're always looking for new material, and we want to do what are felt need topics.
So go to hoperescuepodcast.org, hoperescuepodcast.org. You can see any of the archived. We've got over 250. This is 256 podcasts. We've got many that you can choose from. Great series on family, relationships, everything you can imagine, theology. It's all there. Go and check that out. And don't miss next time when we'll be together on Hope Rescue Podcast.
Bye, guys.